I'm not super special. I am very lucky to be doing what I'm doing in the sense that I found my passion early on. I do have a gift, the gift of gab, and I managed to actually turn it into something that makes me feel good and makes other people feel good. But I didn't get here just instantly. It came from taking a risk to do something different, taking a risk to step out of my comfort zone. And I think a lot of us are afraid to do that because it's not something you do every day, and rarely do you even know people who do it. I read a statistic recently that only 20% of people actually truly enjoy what they're doing for a living. And it broke my heart because I am in that company, and I know so many people who aren't. So I guess if you're not in that company, you have to decide, do you want to stay in the 80% or do you want to step out of your comfort zone and be different? And I know a couple of people who are here who have been changing their lives dramatically. And it's a baby step situation. I'm not going to say it's going to happen overnight. I'm not going to say it's going to be an instantaneous thing. But it starts with taking a little risk. And when I say taking a risk, I don't mean you quit your job, you leave your spouse, you move to another country. That's a bad idea. Don't anybody do that because you heard Karith say that. What I want you to do is do something that maybe takes you outside of your comfort zone. When I moved to New York City, I worked for The View. And I had an incredible job. I was a PA for this brand new TV show. Barbara Walters was my boss. And yet, I was miserable. I was depressed. I hated it. I didn't know what else to do. And of course, I had everybody tell me, you remember Devil Wears Prada? When people were telling her, you know, 1 million girls would kill for your job. That's what I was getting every day from people I was working with and from my friends. But I knew I couldn't do it much longer. And it was kind of a chance situation, if you believe in chance, that I met this young woman who shared studio space with all my children. She asked me to watch her do her stand-up set in the bathroom. And, you know, when anybody asks you to watch them do something in the bathroom, you should be a little leery. Because it is New York City, and you never know what's going to happen. But she ended up doing 6 to 7 minutes of stand-up comedy. I asked her how she did that, how she even knew to do that. She told me she took a class. I instantly got the information from her, and I was making no money at the time. I pulled together all the money I had, went into my savings to take a stand-up comedy class. And thank God I did. Thank God I went out of my comfort zone, because I took that stand-up comedy class almost 12 years ago today. And obviously it has turned into something that has become a career, just from that one little thing. So calculated risks, that's where I'm coming from, that's what I'm talking about. Baby steps, one step at a time.
8 months after being fired from CBS Radio for racially charged remark, Don Imus is back on the air. He says he has learned his lesson. Imus returned this morning with a new cast, which includes 2 African-American comedians. Eyewitness News reporter Tim Fleischer was there for Imus's first day back.
Diversifying the staff, Imus is now joined by comedian Karith Foster.
If I didn't feel he was sincere in his efforts to turn a very awful negative situation into a positive one that you know, creates a dialogue as well about race, I wouldn't be here. Another thing that I think has really, really been crucial in my life has been taking the bigger risks. You know, sometimes it's the little things, but sometimes it's you just got to take a leap. And that happened for me 2 years ago when I got a call out of the blue from someone who'd known of my work asking me if I would be interested in a radio or television opportunity. Of course, I jumped at the chance. Then that person said that radio television opportunity would be with Don Imus after Nappygate. And I had to decide if that was something that I could do. Not just because, you know, I had heard these rumors about how, you know, interesting he was to work with, but because there were people who were very angry at him. My management and my parents were actually worried for my safety and for my life. And I had to decide whether I was going to let silly people out there who might threaten me, scare me from doing something I felt called to do, or would I be on the other side and just wonder for the rest of my life what was going to happen. And I weighed it and I thought about it. And as tortured as the conversations were between me and my mom, who didn't really want me to do it, she's my best friend, so what she says is I take to heart. I chose to do it because for me, hell on earth is not knowing what could have happened and wondering the rest of your life, if I had done that, if I had tried, what could have been. And I did it. And it was an amazing experience. It definitely came with some pitfalls. It's interesting working with a huge personality like that and that kind of dynamic. Sometimes you don't always get what you expect. But in the end, in the long run, I am such a better person for it. And it elevated me to a new level of self-respect, to a new level of what I can handle, and to a new level of knowing that when I go out for it and I do it, it's always going to be a successful venture. Even if the lesson was hard, it was a great lesson learned. I am happy 93.7% of the time. And my friends who know me know that. And some people who don't, you might think I'm lying, you might think I'm kidding, and don't think my life is perfect. It is not. I have bad days, I get parking tickets too. But I choose not to let those little things get to me. Because in the scheme of things, in the big picture of life, I do know what's important. And what's important is my health, my friends, my family, and the love I have. And when I have that perspective, it is amazing how that other stuff just falls off your back. And people try to get on you for that too, for being in a good mood. Because there is nothing that unhappy people hate more than happy people. Right? I just told you I worked for a man who peed in his own Wheaties, okay? And then he peed in everybody else's. But I didn't let him get to me because I couldn't, because I knew that I was stronger and better than that. And I knew that my mood would affect everything else in my life. It's like the domino effect. If you start out your day crappy in a bad mood, doesn't everything else just go crappy too? But if you choose to decide to have a good spirit and a good air about you, even the bad stuff, sometimes you can just turn it around. You can turn it around. The last thing that I just wanted to share with you about how I've kind of gotten to where I am in my life and achieved the success that I have is that I laugh about it. I laugh about almost everything, even the bad stuff. And that is what is going to get you through it. And I had to start laughing at it at a young age because most of you don't know this. I actually was born in Denver, Colorado, and I moved to Texas when I was 7 years old. Now, when I lived in Denver, I was around people who had the perfect Midwestern, undetectable accent. I moved to Texas where people not only had accents for me, but twangs. My first day of second grade was probably one of the most traumatic days of my life because my teacher, Mrs. Hutt, spelled H-U-T-T, told us to get our pencils out and our papers and write our names on the line. So everybody else gets out their pencil and their paper and they start writing their names. I am confounded. I am staring blankly at my sheet, doing nothing, frozen in fear, because I don't see a lion on my paper. I thought something was wrong with me. And to add insult to injury, my teacher, she actually came over to me. She grabbed my pencil. She goes, "Karith, darling, the lion is right here." And I'm like, I don't see a lion. I don't see a lion anywhere. And she doesn't think I have an accent, so she's like, "It's right here." So I go home. I'm crushed. I'm devastated. I tell my mother what happened, tearfully. She calls up my teacher, and of course, as soon as Mrs. Hutt says, "Hello," my mom knew what the problem was. And here I am thinking that my whole second grade class is tripping on mushrooms, and they're seeing stuff I'm not seeing. Wasn't the case at all. And okay, even though I did get sent to remedial classes, I did for half a year. But my mom pulled me out and sent me to private school where people just had a light accent. The thing was, I could laugh about it later, and I can certainly laugh about it now. And the message is that all of us have things that are super traumatic at the time and painful even. But in the end, like, you can look back and you can laugh at it. There's an expression, only the strong survive. Well, I believe that 9 out of 10 of those strong have a great sense of humor. And thank you. And that's where I'm coming from too. So the three things I wanted to get across to you for having an amazing life or bringing some amazing into your life it's not even secrets. It's because it's really not a secret. Sometimes you just need to be reminded that you got to take risks, right? You got to choose your mood. You can't let other people choose it for you. And you definitely have to love to laugh, and laugh hard and laugh good. And there is nothing that I wish for you guys more than an amazing life full of love and laughter. So thank you very much for coming tonight. Thank you for supporting me.